Welcome back to Griffonomics, where we conduct financial investigations to define the risk before we look at the reward. Today, we're diving into Badger Meter, ticker BMI. This is a company that used to be known for selling industrial brass fittings, but is now arguably one of the most compelling technology stories hiding inside the industrial sector.
Oh, it's a complete structural transformation.
Yeah.
And that's really what makes this deep dive so necessary. For decades, BMI was defined by, durable yet structurally lower margin hardware sales. But our stack of sources shows that the structure of this business has fundamentally changed.
Okay, let's unpack this with the mission statement right up front.
BMI is executing a structural pivot from a legacy hardware manufacturer into a high-margin water intelligence platform. The core investment opportunity lies in its Blue Edge ecosystem, which locks in decade-long recurring software revenue while permanently elevating gross margins to a new normal of 39%, 42%.
That thesis right there. It explains so much about why the market is treating this industrial stock almost like a software company. It's the story of how Badger Meter fundamentally shifted the conversation with water utilities.
Good, right?
They moved from a one-time capital equipment or, CapEx sale to an ongoing operational partnership. You aren't just buying a physical meter anymore.
No.
You're subscribing to the intelligence that meter generates.
And that transformation is entirely enabled by their network as a service model, NOS.
Yes, right.
Which is anchored by the Orion cellular endpoints. And this is a really critical point of competitive differentiation.
Why? What does it change?
It completely changes the barrier to entry for the utilities.
Okay, so historically, what was the pain point? What was the massive headache a utility faced when they decided to go smart?
Infrastructure risk and
Yeah.
capital outlay. If a utility wanted advanced metering, they had to build their own dedicated proprietary radio network.
So their own cell towers, basically.
Yeah. Pretty much. That means buying land, erecting towers, maintaining dedicated radio transmitters, and then hiring staff trained specifically for that network. It's a massive upfront capital investment.
A huge multi-million-dollar CapEx commitment just to start reading meters remotely.
Exactly. And Badger Meter eliminates that entirely.
How?
Their Orion cellular endpoints leverage existing public cellular networks, Verizon, AT&T, whoever.
So no new towers.
No new infrastructure at all.
Uh-huh.
The utility just pays Badger Meter a recurring fee for the cellular connectivity and the data.
So that converts a huge capital expenditure into a much more palatable operational expense, an OpEx.
It does. It drastically lowers the financial and logistical hurdle for adoption across, 50,000 U.S. utility systems, many of which are small or medium-sized and just couldn't afford the old model.
So the Orion device is the intelligent gateway, eliminating that infrastructure risk. But here's the clever part, right? Because the physical hardware itself creates the software moat. So is the main purpose of selling the meter just to trap the customer into buying software for the next decade?
It's the highest margin trap possible. The source material really emphasizes that the physical ultrasonic meters, which are premium, highly accurate devices, they have a 10 to 15-year field life.
10 to 15 years.
And since they're the official communication link, every single connected hardware sale ensures a 100% attachment rate to their high-margin Beacon SaaS platform.
They sell you the razor and they get 15 years of recurring blade revenue.
Precisely. That one hardware sale ensures a decade or more of sticky, high-margin software revenue locked in.
And the financial result of that strategy is?
It's undeniable. The software as a service revenue stream has grown at an aggressive 28% compound annual growth rate over the last 5 years.
28%.
That is not an industrial growth rate. Traditional industrial companies are happy with mid-single digits. This is pure software performance embedded within an industrial shell.
And that transformation from a CapEx model to a recurring OpEx SaaS model is what fundamentally changes the risk and reward profile of the entire company, which brings us directly to their recent financial results.
Yeah, let's anchor this with the numbers from Q3 2025. They reported $235.7 million in revenue.
Which was up, 13%?
A robust 13% year-over-year increase, yes. Solid growth, driven by higher volume of those premium ultrasonic meters, and crucially, that increased SaaS adoption.
The top-line growth is strong, but the core of the investment thesis is really in the margin expansion. The reported gross margins for Q3 2025 were 40.7%.
Right.
For a company that once struggled to break 35% in its hardware-heavy past, that's astonishing. So is this just temporary pricing power, or is management just talking up the stock? Is 42% really sustainable?
Management insists it is. They define the driver as structural mix improvement,
which means
It's non-cyclical. Think of it this way. Their older business was selling physical weight brass and plastics. Now, the fastest growing parts of their revenue are from selling data, purity, and connectivity.
the ultrasonic meters, the cellular radios.
And the Beacon software subscriptions. Exactly. They're selling more service and less stuff.
And that's a permanent shift.
They believe so. The proof is that management raised their historical normalized gross margin target from 38 to 40% to a brand new normalized range of 39 to 42%.
Wow.
That's a formal declaration that the DNA of the company has changed, resulting in a permanent elevation of profitability.
And that confidence is definitely bolstered by their financial resilience. Our sources refer to their financial position as a fortress balance sheet.
And that's not hyperbole. They have $200 million in net cash.
And zero long-term debt.
Zero. This is an absolutely crucial operational advantage. It means they aren't beholden to interest rate changes or credit cycles, allowing them to allocate capital strategically for R&D, for acquisitions, without financial stress.
And to put a pin in their capital discipline, they just announced their 33rd consecutive year of dividend increases.
Incredible consistency, especially in the industrial sector.
It truly is. And I assume that fortress balance sheet, specifically that $200 million in dry powder, is enabling their next phase of growth.
Yes, their even more aggressive phase, moving beyond the core metering business.
Okay, so let's talk about the growth vectors that take them beyond the meter. Where are they putting their cash to work to justify that future growth?
They are strategically diversifying into non-flow related areas. So think wastewater management, sewer integrity, high-tech water quality monitoring.
They're leveraging their existing relationships with utilities to sell entirely new types of digital intelligence.
Exactly. And this expansion is really highlighted by the $184 million acquisition of SmartCover.
Okay, for the listener, what exactly did they buy? What problem does SmartCover solve?
SmartCover focuses on the ugly side of utility management. Sewer and wastewater monitoring.
Right.
It uses these advanced, ruggedized sensors placed inside manholes and sewer lines. These sensors monitor water level, flow, potential obstructions.
To prevent sewer overflows.
Exactly. Which come with massive regulatory fines and environmental damage. It moves utilities from being reactive to being preventative.
And what's the market potential here? Is this a mature space where they're competing for scraps, or is it truly a greenfield?
It's virtually undeveloped. This is a staggering data point from the sources. Management describes this specific market as virtually greenfield.
Greenfield meaning?
Meaning there is less than 0.5% digital adoption across the U.S. market.
Less than 0.5%.
They are barely in the first inning. They're moving into a market so underpenetrated they can effectively set the standard for everyone else.
And financially, I'm guessing the economics of SmartCover are designed to further accelerate that margin story.
Absolutely. The sources note that the SmartCover business, which is already growing at over 20% recently, carries incremental margins well above line average.
No, higher than the core business.
Much higher. So while the acquisition itself will show some amortization costs that drag down reported profit a bit, as that revenue base scales, especially in an uncontested market, those superior margins are positioned to drive significant future operating margin accretion for the whole company.
So we have a structural margin shift, high single-digit organic growth, a massive greenfield acquisition strategy. It sounds like a dream scenario.
It does.
But this is the deep dive, so we have to address the Highwire Act. The market has obviously caught on to this story.
Oh, they have. The stock is trading at a significant premium, approximately 37.9 times earnings, and roughly 24 times EV/EBITDA.
That's priced like a software industrial hybrid. A traditional industrial might trade in the low to mid-20s PE.
Right. That valuation requires execution perfection. It leaves very little room for external shocks.
So what's the most immediate, tangible, material risk to this otherwise pristine margin story?
It is a profound supply chain risk, and it's centered on a commodity most people have never heard of.
Okay.
Bismuth.
Bismuth.
It's essential for their lead-free brass components. And here's the kicker. China controls 90% of the global supply.
Oh, wow.
So when they implemented export controls in 2025, the price of bismuth spiked.
Tenfold.
Tenfold. That's an immediate ongoing cost headwind. How are they coping with that? Can they reformulate or source it somewhere else?
In the short term, they can't pivot. Management confirmed that moving away from bismuth is, quote, not plausible.
So what's the plan?
They have to rely on aggressive pricing actions, raising prices to utilities to offset that massive input cost shock. The risk here is that if they can't sustain that pricing, or if the market slows down, that margin target of 39 to 42% comes under severe pressure.
That's a huge specific headwind. What about policy risks related to their manufacturing footprint?
Trade policy is the other high-severity vulnerability. Badger Meter relies heavily on its main manufacturing facility in Nogales, Mexico.
Which benefits from USMCA. Exactly. It currently benefits from USMCA tariff exemptions. If those were removed due to geopolitical tension or trade policy changes, which is a constant, unpredictable risk management estimate, it could compress the company's gross margins by a significant 100 to 200 basis points.
A 1 to 2% hit to gross margins. That alone could put the new 42% ceiling completely out of reach.
It certainly could.
Okay, finally, we often hear investor noise about federal funding things like potential cuts to EPA or ARPA funds that might be used for municipal water projects.
And while that noise exists, management has a very strong defense that tends to stabilize the business. They say the meter and the beacon system with it is the cash register for the utility.
It's their billing mechanism.
It's their core billing mechanism. A utility can't just stop replacing broken or outdated meters because, well, without an accurate meter, they literally cannot bill their customers for the water they use.
So it's mission-critical infrastructure, not a discretionary purchase.
Exactly. Meter replacement remains a very high priority for utilities, regardless of short-term changes in federal grants.
That makes perfect sense. So if we pull all of this together, the structural margin shift, the software moat, the greenfield opportunity, and these very significant risks, how do we synthesize the final investment case? Let's frame this with that analogy from our sources.
The best analogy is simple. Badger Meter is evolving from a hardware store that sold you a physical meter every 15 years into a smartphone ecosystem.
I love that. So explain the monetization shift using that metaphor.
They still sell the premium device, that's the ultrasonic meter. But just like Apple, the real value and profit, it doesn't really come from the device sale itself, which is lower margin.
Right.
The profits now come from monetizing the App Store, which is the Beacon software subscription, and the cloud services, which are the data analytics running on that device.
It's that recurring digital revenue.
That's what allows them to maintain these superior margins and cash flows, and that's what justifies the higher valuation.
So the central question for you, the listener, paying that roughly 38 times earnings multiple is, does the successful structural shift visible in the new permanent margin range of 39 to 42% and that high single-digit organic growth, does that justify the premium, given the very critical trade and executional risks we've outlined?
The company is fundamentally stronger and structurally more profitable than it has ever been. But you must be confident in management's ability to navigate the China Bismuth Shock, maintain USMCA stability, and flawlessly execute the SmartCover integration to maintain that valuation.
It's a quality business.
But the price tag undeniably reflects perfection.
And as you think about this water intelligence pivot, consider this final provocative thought. The ultimate value of the massive amounts of water usage and infrastructure data collected across 50,000 U.S. utilities may not just be better billing.
No.
It could be leveraging that data for new, even higher margin applications in climate modeling, infrastructure planning, or national resource allocation, turning basic water consumption data into pure global intelligence.
Owning that essential data layer for critical infrastructure is the long-term game here, and it's why Badger Meter is such a fascinating deep dive to watch.
Thanks for joining us for the deep dive today.
Always a pleasure.